They also wanted to check the revolution and impose their discipline.
Aparecía claro que entrábamos en una guerra civil.
It was clear that we were entering a civil war and that we were facing an organized enemy with an organized army, and that we needed a real army ourselves. And the starting point for this army was the 5th Regiment.
The discipline of the 5th Regiment was powerful propaganda for the communist approach to the war. The communists, helping to build a new popular army, believed in the values of obedience, rank, authority. Their old rivals, the anarchists, were anti-militarist, opposed on principle to hierarchical discipline. For them, war, like revolution, must be made through popular initiative.
I have always believed that the day they started to militarize the people, the day that the spontaneous nature of popular combat was destroyed, we started to lose the war. And this is something the communists have always refused to accept.
But all styles of war need weapons, and the Soviet Union soon became the only country prepared to supply them in large quantities. This in turn increased the influence of the Spanish communists, a minority party when the Civil War began. They were now becoming the strongest political force in the Republic. Soviet military aid arrived just in time to help defend the Spanish capital. No pasarán. They shall not pass. By November, Franco's troops had encircled Madrid on 3 sides. When the final attack came, the people of Madrid fought shoulder to shoulder with loyal officers and with the Republican militias who had been retreating for the past 4 months. The attack on Madrid was beaten back. The defense of Madrid became a legend, and it gave the Republic fresh hope for victory. The anarchist military commander Durruti died in the battle for Madrid. His funeral in Barcelona became an immense anarchist show of faith. But the movement was already beginning to split under the pressure of its own internal contradictions. With the enemy at the gates of Madrid, the anarchist leaders had shelved their principles and joined the government. 4 anarchists became ministers in the central government. Others had already joined the Catalan regional government. Their followers were shocked and confused. Moreover, in Catalonia, the anarchist heartland, anarchist collectivization was being checked. The regional government was asserting control of the industries which anarchists had collectivized. Josep Tarradellas was the Catalan finance councillor.
I was the first councillor and finance councillor of the regional government, the Generalitat. Therefore, faced with the CNT's refusal to allow control over the collectivized industries, I ordered all the banks not to cash any checks or hand over money to them without my permission. So the workers found themselves in a difficult situation. They would run out of money, and at the bank they would be told, "No, I need the Generalitat's permission." So then they would come to us, and we would say, "No, unless you allow us to control the collective."
As the anarchists weakened, the communists became stronger. The party attracted many who felt threatened by the revolution. Middle-class moderates who admired communist discipline at the front and order and restraint behind the lines. Revolutionary chaos still reigned in much of Republican Spain.
This led to an overwhelming feeling of unease in the country. And as we were in favor of discipline and control, of laying down all the rules necessary for re-establishing the army, the police, the courts of justice, well, obviously, all these things were welcomed by the population.
But the communist methods of recruitment attracted bitter criticism from other parties in the Republic.
El Partido Comunista, a diferencia de otros partidos, In contrast with the other parties, the Communist Party opened its doors unconditionally and without any controls to anybody who wanted to join. What they wanted was to build up their party by taking advantage of the very special circumstances in Spain at the time. So that's the way they did it. They were very smart about it. It was easy to grow that way. They made the soldier sergeant, the sergeant lieutenant, and the professional man captain. They cultivated people's ambition so that they became unconditional supporters. They made sure that people who had no influence in their civilian lives became important in military terms.
The communists had been forced to change their line. At first, they had opposed the revolution as a threat to the Republic. In March 1937, they admitted that significant revolutionary gains had been made, but any further changes would have to wait. The overriding aim must be to win the war. For the communists, this meant bringing home rule in Catalonia and the Basque Country under central control. One source of friction between the central government and Catalonia was control over the war industry.
The only cartridge factory in our zone was near Toledo, so my trip to Madrid was to ask the central government that because the factory was still in our hands, it should be brought to Catalonia, which was the only place where it could function properly.
Tarradellas' visit to Madrid ended in failure. The government, wary of growing regional power, refused his request.
So I left Madrid without the Toledo factory. A short while later, I heard, as did all the other Spaniards, that Toledo had fallen into the hands of General Franco. They chose, in a way, to leave this factory in Franco's hands rather than have it in a place where it could have been useful.
But these squabbles over regional rights were far less ominous than the collision between communists and their political rivals over the whole future of the Republic. At this meeting in March 1937, José Díaz, the Communist General Secretary, asked, "Who are the enemies of the Republic?" He answered himself, "Fascists, uncontrollables, and Trotskyists." He was following Stalin's policy in the Soviet Union. There, the uncontrollables, the anarchists, had already been purged. The Spanish Civil War coincided with the height of Stalin's purges of his political rivals. Leon Trotsky had been exiled in 1929. Bolshevik veterans like Zinoviev and Kamenev, also seen here in 1926 at a state funeral, were executed in 1936. Trotskyist was a label given to any independent Marxist who defied the instructions of Stalin and the Comintern in Moscow. Communists in Western Europe justified these purges. Trotsky was pilloried as a Nazi agent. Bill Bailey was an American communist fighting with the international brigades.
We had heard that Joe Stalin was trying to keep the country secured and safe and get rid of all the enemies that were trying to constantly tear down the Soviet Union. Therefore, he was conducting these type of purges, and we were led to believe that they were enemies of the people. Enemies of the Russian people, consequently the enemies of the working class, every place.